Imagine it's a early morning in the middle of winter. You wake up, you climb up in your deer stand, and it's calm and relaxing, and all of a sudden you can hear footsteps crunching throughout the woods. And you got your bow ready, and you know a big deer is coming towards you. Today, I'm going to be taking you guys through a step-by-step process of exactly how you're going to kill a deer with a bow and recover and track it down. So I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. It's going to be getting ready, taking the shot, and tracking and recovery, all while focusing on safety, skill, and respect for wildlife. Let's start with preparation, the foundation of every successful hunt. So first of all, you guys have to know the laws when going into a hunt. You have to have your hunting license, your deer tags, and of course your bow season's date and within your state. So you also want to look for signs of deer before your hunt. So for instance, a scrape or a rub on a tree, or just anything, maybe set up game cameras to check out and see what movement's going on your farm. Any things like this will help you get an advantage and learn to locate where deer are going and help navigate their patterns. Another important thing is gearing up for the hunt. Of course, you're going to need a bow that will fit your draw weight, and you need matching arrows and broadheads accordingly to your bow. You also need to carry essentials throughout your hunt, such as a range finder, a safety harness, and scent control. One more important thing about preparation for your hunt is practicing often, because you can't practice enough for this type of situation, as deer fever will hit you in the middle of your hunt and you're shaking uncontrollably, not knowing what to do. So you're going to want to shoot from a preferred range, or a range that you know you can be comfortable with and knowing that you can shoot a deer well from. So for instance, about 30 to 40 yards, you want to practice this as much as you can with a target before your hunt. And you got to know your ethical range, the farthest you can shoot accurately. So once you've practiced and found the right spot, it's time to set up and make your move on a particular deer you might have picked out. And that's when you start setting up and taking your shot. So you're going to set up a stand or choose a blind, whatever your preference is, according to your location or your whereabouts on your farm or hunting spot. And you're going to want to stay still and alert when within the spot, because deer can pick up on any subtle movement. They smell really well. So you just want to make sure you're off the radar for them and do that to the most effective way possible. So the best way to do that is pick location consistent with your deer movement, or for instance, a tree stand that's up high in the tree, so that way you stay out of wind or anything that could help them get a clue on where you're at or help them spot you or anything along those lines. And when a deer appears, you need to wait for it to turn broadside, and you're going to take your bow and you will draw back just like so, and you'll aim right on the deer. And as you pull the release, when you got it located to its right or its front shoulder, then you will take your shot. And you always want to aim a little bit lower, because a deer will recognize the sound of the bow and tend to duck your arrow sometimes. So you want to have a smooth draw with your bow, and preferably do this when the deer is not paying attention. That way he doesn't catch you in the action. And aim for the vital area, like I had mentioned earlier, lungs and heart, which is located behind the front shoulder, and release confidently. After the shot, instead of celebrating early, you're going to want to watch where the deer runs. Wait quietly before tracking to avoid pushing it farther away if it hasn't died yet. And this is another big thing, because you could potentially lose your deer if you don't pay attention to where it runs right after you shoot it. So your job isn't quite done when the arrow flies, because recovery is just as important. So that brings us to step 3, which is tracking and recovery. Remember exactly where the deer stood and where it ran, and give the animal time, because rushing in can make the recovery a little bit harder on yourself. You're going to want to look for a blood trail or any sort of signs that the deer had ran in that direction, maybe a footprint or just anything along those lines. And once found, you're going to want to tag the deer accordingly to regulations, which would be in the state of Illinois or Kentucky on the leg and antler. And you're going to want to field dress responsibly and use the meat so that way you're not wasting any part of the deer. Above all, safe and ethical behavior defines a true hunter. To hunt deer with a bow, overall, you're just going to have to prepare well, take an ethical shot, and recover responsibly. Always wear a harness in the tree stand, identify your target clearly, and make sure to follow all the laws as well. Bow hunting isn't just about taking a deer. It's about patience and respect for the land and the animal.